It's Kringle time. Sit back, relax. It's time to dive into a world of laughter and learning with the Kringle brothers, reminding us that we are better together.
Hey,
Hey!
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. All ready for baseball season, can't you see? Woo!
Look at you. Welcome to Kringle time, everybody.
Hello.
We appreciate you coming. Oh my, an excellent thing indeed. Yes.
A fun show today.
Yeah.
Do you know what we're going to talk about today?
Oh, we're back to character development again, and we've got a special guest for you, a wonderful treat. I love to talking with this brother, but before we do that, week's going well. Anything special happened for you this week?
Well, no, not really. I mean, tomorrow was asked for Christmas in July to throw out the first pitch for the Detroit Tigers.
Ooh.
So I get to go dress up, pose for some pictures, maybe get a few autographs because Santa does have a pretty cool man cave at the North Pole.
And your lovely gets to do this with you too, doesn't she?
Yes, my lovely Mrs. Claus will be joining me on the field. She has a little parasol she'll be bringing, and it'll be a wonderful time as well. What about you? What fun and wonderful things do you have going on?
Well, wonderful things. Well, I did. My wife has to, get her hip replaced on Monday, so we thought we'd do a little special trip, before she's just stuck on the couch or the bed and watching TV. So we went to Bronner's today, the world's largest Christmas store.
And did you get chicken dinner?
Well, yeah, we went down to the Bavarian Inn afterwards. After for lunch, and what was fun was there was two guys that from our church that wanted to go to Bronner, so I took them, and of course you immediately walk in the door, Santa, can we have a picture with you? And so then going through Bronner's, all that happening, and then they looked at me on our way down to lunch and went, "Does this happen to you everywhere?" Mm-hmm.
Well, just
all the Santas. Yep. If you're a white bearded Santa, yeah, it happens.
And just think, when we go to Charles Howard, we go to Bronner's, when you got like 4 or 5 busloads of Santa and Mrs. Claus is all coming in. They get their pick. Well, you know what? We already got a great crew out there joining us. Hello, AJ and Santa Mel and William and Matt and Mike
and Sal here, yeah,
and
Joe
Dave. And Oliver, I always love that name, Oliver.
And your lovely is on too.
Oh, yes, she is as well. And Joseph Cunningham.
Oh, excellent. Well, let me go ahead and just do the definition again for what we're talking about. Perfect. And then we'll welcome our guest on. So we're talking about character development. So developing and embodying a compelling character is essential to the Christmas performer. Whether you're performing Santa Claus, an elf, or another festive character as Mrs. Claus or etc., we need to bring authenticity, warmth, and charm to that role. This involves understanding the character's background, personality traits, mannerism, speech pattern to deliver an engaging performance that resonates with our audience. So background, I guess that would be a key for what we're talking about. I want us to talk about St. Nickolas tonight.
Well, most of us actually use St. Nickolas as the mold for our Santa persona. So we need to find out more stuff about him. So
you know what? If I'm talking to anybody about St. Nickolas, I love our guest tonight. So would you please welcome Dr. Bruce Kotowich?
Yay!
Yay! Guys, how's it going?
Hi, Bruce. How
to see you, brother?
I'll let Michael lead the introduction because I could just listen to his voice, but yours is velvetly smooth for there, Bruce. So I'll let you guys talk.
Thank you.
So do me a favor, Bruce. Go ahead and let everybody know, where you're located at. Kind of like, how long you've been doing Santa, and then do me a favor. All right. I'm not trying to push you or brag you up, but please, give your accolades a little bit. I want people to understand that your background and academic history and that type of stuff is very pertinent to what we're talking about tonight. So, Bruce, go ahead and share with us.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all the great comments in the comment block here. This is incredible. Good evening, everyone. Well, as Michael and Mike, or Herbie, has said, I'm Bruce Kotowich. I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Most people probably have no clue where Winnipeg, or as we call it, Winterpeg, is located. But if you think
Wait,
of
can we
the
do like
map,
map? We could do the same like
Hey,
like
I
there,
used to be a Winnipeg Jet fan. I know where Winnipeg is.
what you used to be, you should still be a fan. Okay. So if you think of the entire map of North America, we're almost dead center in the continent. Like there are those two large Finger Lakes that you see, and right at the bottom is the city of Winnipeg. What's funny, I now live in Windsor, Ontario, so I'm basically in, I guess, South Detroit.
Yes,
If
you
yeah.
are.
if you think about it, you know, and if you think about the song Jack and Diane, you know that's basically about Windsor.
Yep.
So I'm here in my adult life. I am the director of the School of Creative Arts for the University of Windsor. So I am in academia, but I am a performer. Right now, my major area is a conductor, and more specialized, I'm a choral conductor. So I'm the director of choral activities for the university. I'm the chorus master at the Windsor Symphony Orchestra, and also I have a community group, uh, the Windsor Classic Chorale. So and but before all that, yeah, I lived all across North America. Started university at the University of Manitoba. My bachelor of music, stayed, did a bachelor of education, and I thought that I had done all my performing and everything, and I was ready to ease into a career in education, which was going around very fine until I was asked to go off to grad school and get a master's degree. And at this point, I said, "Oh, sure, I'll go off and get a master's of education." And he said, "No, we don't want that. We want you to get a master's in music."
Ah.
So, okay. So I thought, okay, I'll just go to some regional university in Canada. And he said, "No, we want you to look elsewhere." So in my auditions and looking at universities, you know, looked at, you know, Juilliard, looked at Manus, um, and so forth, you know, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. Um, and I decided to go to the College Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati. CCM is known as the grandmother of musical theater education. Huge opera program, major theater and ballet programs, and a choral program and conducting program that is second to none worldwide. So my first year there, I was just a very dutiful student. I'm there, like I'm a master's student. I just want to get my work done. But I was also working at St. Michael's Parish up in Sharonville, and
Ooh.
they a very strong German background church. So there was always a St. Nickolas festival at St. Michael's Parish. So I went home for American Thanksgiving, or what you folks call Thanksgiving, because Canadian Thanksgiving is in October. And I thought, okay, well, for this St. Nicholas Fest, I'll bring my kit, and I will bring Santa for them. Well, after Thanksgiving, we had a study group. It was my turn to host study group, and in my front closet, um, I had the suit hanging. Well, one of my colleagues squealed on me to one of my advisors and said, "Do you know what Bruce also does?" So I get called into Dr. Thompson's office, and like that was the biggest fear. Like this was my first quarter in Cincinnati. I'm trying to learn, trying to fit in, all that stuff. And Elmer says, "You know, Bruce, I've always wanted to have Santa up here at Feast of Carols." I went, good. But good. You know, there's a lot of musical theater students, a lot of opera students. Let them have at it. He said, "But I hear." And so what happened was that Elmer said, you've already signed all this other stuff and conducting duties. How long does it take you to suit up he changed the format of the program to give me time to the 45 minutes that I needed to suit up. And the the finale, Santa appeared. And so I was supposed to been there for just 1 year. My residency turned into 6 years. And with the help of the conservatory, the different departments, shops, my image of Santa grew. And
Fun.
I learned about makeup, hair, costuming. And also I learned about performance. How do you go and walk out at a Symphony Pops concert at Christmas time to a house of 2,000 people? And so stage presence and working with different acting coaches for that one moment. And I started to see a whole different side and the need for understanding what we do and how we do. Because they were giving such detailed time for my 10 minutes on stage. That's how much they believed that, that Santa had to be that authentic
Right.
every year. So since then, it's been a few years since I've been a grad student, and done a lot of stage work and so forth. So I did get my master's. I have my doctorate of musical arts. I also have my uh, performer's certificate from the Royal Conservatory. Numerous other things. But what has happened is that Santa, for the past 42, 43 years now, has been an intimate, close friend. Um, what's really interesting is in elementary school, I attended St. Alphonsus School, private Catholic school in Winnipeg, and we had to pick patron saints one year. So of course, like I first said, well, I want Solomon to be my patron saint, and of course, one of our parish priests said, well, you can't do that. You can't have Solomon. And of course, the nun said he could have whoever he wants. So I said, well, if I can't have Solomon, I want Saint Nicholas, because in my family, half of our entire family is Western Rite, so Roman Catholic. The other half is Eastern Rite, so Ukrainian Catholic, Greek Orthodox, that whole other side of the church. So growing up, I got to celebrate English Christmas and Ukrainian Christmas.
Nice.
So I would see Saint Nicholas around December 6th, like whatever weekend was before that date. Saint Nicholas would come, and in all of his bishop attire, everything just in incredible. And I would have a conversation, and I'd be quizzed on my catechism, what I've been doing, good works. At one point, it almost felt like it was like a public confession, but it was just, but here, like, there's the saint speaking with me, and like I was like 4 or 5, like even at age 7, like you just see this presence. Like, how can you not believe? So we would start Advent with that, and of course, in December there was always English Christmas, December 25th. So at that point in Winnipeg, growing up, we would all go downtown to either Eaton's, which is a huge department store, or the Hudson Bay Company, the Bay. And Santa, the top floors usually was converted into Santaland with all these animatronics and incredible sets and just this fantasy land. And there was Santa. And I remember one year, our pictures came back and someone said, oh my goodness, Santa looks terrible and horrible. And apparently, I'm about 5 years old, 6 years old, and I just had the comment saying, well, Santa had the flu, but he still wants to come and visit with us. He's fine. He looks fine. He's not feeling well. Also, a good family friend of ours would come every year for a private house visit. And so, we would always host Santa. And, and every year I couldn't believe that Santa came. And my older brothers, same thing. They're 7 and 8 years older than myself. And the magic of it was just incredible.
That's awesome. Well, let's do this a little bit for us, if you would, Bruce. Let's go back a little bit and give us a little bit of history, just so we're on the same page.
Sure.
Who is Saint Nicholas? When was he born? Where did he live? Give us just a small little bit of a history of Saint Nicholas and how he became bishop.
Okay. So Nickolas of Myra. So Nickolas was born in Myra, an only child to a very wealthy family. They were sea merchants. So Myra as a seaport, and this was in the very early formation of the Christian Church. So he was born in 270 AD, and you know, it's funny. There is no official biographer, but there are stories. Some people call them legends. For me, it's part of my faith formation. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of our family story. Um, so he was born in 270. His parents died. One account says that they died in a plague. Another account said that they died in a ship accident, a storm at sea. But the importance here is the idea that was that he was left orphaned. A vast fortune was left with him. His uncle, who was a priest, then took care of him. And this is where Nickolas's faith formation, how Nickolas went from just being an adolescent to becoming in an early age a mature young man, taking holy orders, so making his vows, his profession of faith, being consecrated as a priest, but also people recognizing the wisdom, how spirit filled he was. That at an early age, they say in his mid-20s, if not younger. Again, there's so many different accounts around this, but I think what's important was as a young man, he was recognized by his community, and this is when community still chose out of the greater membership who would be ordained to holy orders, and then who would be elevated even further to lead the entire community as a bishop.
Well, yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was reading one of the stories is that when the Bishop of Myra passed away, that they were trying to debate on who would become the next bishop, and two of the priests said, "Well, I'll tell you what, the next person who walks in will be the bishop, will be the new bishop." Well, they both realized that Nickolas was had a very strict routine and he was very pious. So they already assumed that he would actually be the very first person to walk in. And that's how some people say he actually became the Bishop of Myra. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
there are so many different accounts. But I think what's important here is that it's the idea of faith, the idea of the whole healthy person.
Mhm.
I hear people talk about, well, this person's an example of being faith-filled. Well, it's not just being faith-filled, but there's also the health benefits, the vastness of one's life, that the balance with your spiritual side, your mental acuity, your physical health causes such greatness, causes such wellness, such depth of experience. And I think that's what's really kind of important. And also, like even that, just that idea that he maintains such a strict lifestyle, I think is also quite a compliment too.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 So that transition, he comes, priest. So how did that now morph into, Santa Claus?
Well, that's okay. Remember, he was left a huge family wealth. And how the story goes is that people in need in his community would anonymously receive gifts if they needed help. Somehow they were taken care of. So, you know, I think, was it in the 1950s? Was there some sort of American TV show about a person that would go around giving out checks anonymously?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
Well, what was that show called? Or okay, someone just put it into the chat there. Someone just type it in there. Come on, we've got the greatest brain trust here. What
And then there's a lot of people say while we're waiting for that brain trust to appear a little bit. We've got a lot of people saying hi to you also.
Oh, it's the millionaire thing. Okay, and it
Millionaire.
takes a fellow Canadian to another American show.
Thanks, Kevin.
So one of the first miracles that's attributed to Nickolas is the story of the three young girls, the story of the three young women. Basically, it's the archetype, the template for how Santa comes down the chimney, how Santa leaves gifts in stockings and so forth. So the story goes that this widower had three daughters, the three of which were becoming of marriage age. The grief of losing his wife had caused the entire family such great duress that he lost his business, he lost many things, and then he realized that he didn't have a dowry left for his daughters. Which at that point in time, no dowry to marry your daughters to the right suitor would spell disaster. We won't go into the professions that these daughters were being considered for, but Nickolas heard of this tragedy, and the story is that in the middle of the night, he sneaks off into the town, throws a pouch of gold coins through the window. It lands in the girl's stocking, which was hung to dry in front of a low fire.
Wow.
No one knew about it. Word comes back sometime later, who knows how much later, the second daughter, likewise, Nickolas goes out. The final daughter, the third daughter, is about to be engaged, but again, no funds there. Nickolas goes, and again, there are several different versions of the story. We have to understand, why is this story important? What does it teach us? What's the moral here? In some of the stories, Nickolas is actually caught by the father. And of course, Nickolas begs the father to not tell anyone, which of course the father tells the entire town.
Yeah, definitely, since now we know the story.
Yeah. But again, I think what's important here is that taking care of your community without seeking fame for it.
Yeah, that's a good word.
You know, that example of taking care of each other, but not doing it to grandstand, not doing it to seek attention. And you know, and then we see so many different miracles and stories events attributed to Nickolas, like you know, Herbie, and you know, we were talking beforehand about, you know, a rather rougher story about, you know, during a famine period, as Bishop of Myra, he was traveling, goes to a small town. There's no food, but this one butcher has young tender meat. Well, what it was that it was three young boys, which Nickolas then resurrected these boys back to life in full form. So some people, and you know, they've got their comments about it, but it's that idea that he caused wonderful things to take place, that he was able to influence and change people's lives, that they felt reborn again.
I think you make a very good point, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nickolas is not only just given the title of gift giver, he's also the patron saint of thieves, murderers, pirates. I mean, every bad person that you can think of is bad. And even too is, when you look at like pawn shops and pawn brokers, usually the symbol are 3 bags of gold, which is attributed back to Nickolas itself.
Let's read all. Yeah.
So, but I can actually say this: one of the best things I've seen in both Michael and you, Dr. Bruce, and also Joe Vallant, is what really touches my heart is watching you all come out as well. Michael does it a little backwards, but coming out as Saint Nicholas and transforming into Santa. Michael likes to do it the reverse way, comes out as Santa and
Well,
goes into Saint Nicholas. But
back to
it's
best practices, back to like teaching things, but we can bring that up a little bit later. Go ahead and finish it. Be sorry.
but the reason I'm asking this is what is the connection between the Santa Claus and Saint Nicholas? I mean, how did we go from Saint Nicholas into the Santa Claus that everybody around the world recognizes?
Well, let's jump a few hundred years, and in the 1400s, what the story is that a group of French nuns, on the eve of the feast of Saint Nicholas. So, in Nicholas's case, his death date December 6th was selected by the church to be his feast day. So these nuns would go around on the evening of December 5th and leave small gifts for children, for people in their village. Whether it be gifts of say food or apparel, it was things that people needed, and it was anonymous. So the action was being done in recognition of the works of Nicholas. That's how all of that got started. And the Dutch were on the forefront, and you have to think about European history. Like we look at Holland right now, we look at the Netherlands as being a really nice little country. You fly there as you're going to Europe, great airport to change flights at, spend a few days in. But the Dutch culture was an important European power at one point. So Sinterklaas, Saint Nicholas in Dutch, was the country's patron saint. Saint Nicholas still is their patron saint. So the idea that children would leave their shoes outside for Saint Nicholas to leave them a gift, following in that tradition that started earlier by the nuns emulating Nicholas's offerings. So all of that grew when the Dutch came over, populated New Amsterdam.
It's New York for us, right? Yeah.
Then became New York. So in that transition, when the British moved in, they heard them talking about Sinterklaas. The English, again, an island nation, most of them didn't speak Dutch. So many of them thought they were saying Santa Claus. So that transition of name from Sinterklaas, Santa Claus.
Fun.
And that's how we have it. And then that tradition starts to develop a non-church based character. And, many people who study folklore, who do social anthropology, talk about, well, we need these archetypes because they give us hope. They bring a commonality. They bring a regular season. I even heard a scholar talk about the idea of Santa as the last of the wild men, of the last of these wild sages. This and people talk about the combination of the Roman Church and Scandinavian faith. So we get Saint Nicholas being fused with Wotan, with Odin.
Yeah,
We get this early superhero who guards children, who guards women, who guards sailors, who takes care of the poor, looks out for the community, reminds us what it means to be a good citizen.
See, and I
So
bet none of us thought we'd grow up and be superheroes.
Right, but you know, to many people's eyes, and this is what's so important when we answer this calling, whether it's a Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, an elf, or now any of the Christmas characters, people look at us differently. And I know that some people try to say, well, you know, I just do this because it's fun, it makes me feel good. But you know, we all come to a point in our lives that we realize, wow, we've been given this incredible gift.
Yeah.
We've said yes to a calling. And, you know, I believe that some of us, I believe all people are called to be better than what they think that they could do.
Yeah,
Well,
let's do this, Bruce. Let me go ahead and I'd love to run our dad joke of the evening. I know it's off a little bit different topic, and then right behind that we'll run a couple videos for our supporters that have given us, and then we'll come back after that, and let's why is this to understand St. Nicholas, why is that important for us today? And I'll let you think about that, and we'll come back. Here we go.
What do you call a cow with no legs? Well, ground beef, of course. What do you call a cow with 2 legs? Lean beef.
Are you going crazy managing clients, contracts, and invoices? Kringle Tracker is here to help you. Stay organized with ease. Keep your sanity in check with Kringle Tracker's intuitive tools to effectively manage your schedule and clients. Our seamless, customizable contract system allows you to tailor your contracts to you and your clients' needs. Prepare for tax time like a pro by tracking your income and expenses and generate reports to make it a breeze. Transform your Claus business by signing up for a free 20-day trial. Kringle Tracker was created by a Claus for the Claus community so you can focus on making magical memories for your clients. Head over to kringletracker.com and sign up for your free trial today.
Hey,
right.
welcome back, everybody.
Okay, just a few things. Let's go here. Just going through the chat, Santa Doug says one of his favorite stories of Nicholas is how he, in 325 AD at the Council of Nicaea, punches a heretic Aries who denies the deity and manhood of Christ.
Yeah, the Holy Trinity debate. Yeah.
Right. And basically, some people say, well, Nicholas wasn't at the Council of Nicaea. Well, it's funny, on the attendance document of who was to be there, Nicholas of Myra is actually listed as he is to be attending. And so we don't know if Nicholas's passion for Christ caused and his actions caused his name to be struck from who actually was there at the debates at the Council of Nicaea, where the Christian Church started to become very formalized. That, in fact, our Nicene Creed, the Creed of Nicaea, was the result of that council, which spoke very highly of and supported and made it a pillar of Christianity, of the Trinity.
All right, just to go over some of these other comments, I start here really quick. Santa Sal says, hi, Bruce. Santa Mel says, Dr. Santa Bruce, JG Kotowich, hi. And then she says, we love you, Bruce.
Oh, thanks.
Kevin Sharp says, hello, Bruce. And Nate says, hello. Joseph Cunningham says, the good doctor is in the house, the best St. Nicholas ever. Oh. Tim Shelton is, hi, everyone. Santa Chris says, hi, Santa Bruce. Bill Haworth says, great story. Joe Vallant says, hey, what's up, boys? And Maggie Priestef says, hi. So I think, and there's one other question.
Yes, Bill has.
Yes, you saw that. So just so everybody else can see it, a question from Bill: Saint Nicholas and the nuns done everything secretly, but today Santas are definitely. I believe he's saying definitely don't do anything quietly. When did it change?
I think, what we see here, the example of Nickolas is emulated through these women who wanted to show what Nickolas's example is, the idea of taking care of the poor, being anonymous. And any action like that, any change like that gets talked about. And let's face it, how difficult is it to keep things secret? It's very difficult. And let's face it, if something good is taking place, I still believe if something good is taking place, word is going to get out. Now, Kate, Bill, when did things change? I think when we see in American culture, and sorry that I don't have this at the tip of my fingers here, but there was an American president around 1890s, 1900s said, every father shall be Santa Claus for his children and should have a suit so that Santa Claus can greet their children. I think that idea started to break down that anonymity and the separation of this is what the adults do for the children, and that this is one of those wonderful mysteries. This is one of the wonderful things. If we all just step back and think of a time in our life when someone did something for us, something that really meant something to us, but we don't know who did it for us. Like now, this is really horrible, pale, but this is my first image, one of the most recent things. Believe it or not, I'm back playing hockey, and I'm not a skater. I don't chase after pucks, after balls. I don't do that. I like to strategize, so I'm a goalie. Well, I was going into a game this past winter. Didn't strap my pads properly to my gear bag. I lost one of my pads, and this is at a huge, like 10 rinks. Busy. I was devastated. I thought that's expensive. And this is, like I said, this is a real shallow story. Someone found that pad and brought it in to the reception desk. And I'm running through this place, freaking out, drove home, couldn't find it. And this receptionist walked up and said, "You look stressed. What's going on? Do I need to call security?" I said, "Yeah, I lost one of my Vaughn goalie pads." And she said, "Is it black and white and it's got a silver stripe?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, it's right behind the desk." So I asked her, I said, "Who turned it in?" She said, "Oh, I was asked not to tell you."
Oh.
Now I realize, like, this is like me, a grown man, stopping a piece of rubber, but therapeutically for me each week, it really helps me. But not being able to know who did that for me, I couldn't give them a gift. I couldn't walk up and say thank you. I had to live in graciousness and give gratitude and thanks for that action.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm the one, as a conductor, so used to being controlling everything. So I think there's something about that, and that Nickolas teaches us that, and that as young children, not knowing where things come from all the time, I think is part of our growing up. It's funny. One of my colleagues at the university is in psychological development, and we've been having great talks this past year about young brain and brain development, because we also have neuroscience at the university, and just talking about how these types of things are so important in the development of people. And the thing is, it's not relegated to just North America and Europe. These stories, these traditions go worldwide. I'm talking far too much here. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Sal has another question. When does a Christmas performer portray Saint Nicholas? Is it just around December 6th?
Well, Sal, for me, when was it leaving Cincinnati, and I started to be asked, like, would you be Saint Nicholas? Yeah, it was usually just around December 6th, but now, I've also been getting requests for Saint Nicholas later in December. Different churches to visit on Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know for me, this is really important because what I found, I mean, I do a couple Catholic school visits and assemblies, but when I start dealing with like older children, um, I switch out from the cutesy Rankin Bass type Santa, and then I go more into Saint Nicholas, and it feels a lot better because you're speaking to the fact of this what the children are learning in this environment at this given time. I mean, I try. I'm nowhere can be as educated as what you can come out with, but I think I can hold my own a little bit. But we also have
better than you realize, Michael.
we also have one other comment here from Joseph Cunningham, which says the Latin word sancto means holy. Many of our English, I cannot pronounce that word, exclasia term
Ecclesiastes.
thank you, derives from this word such as saint or holy one. Thus, Santa equates to saint.
Right.
So Saint Claus, Saint Nicholas.
Right. So sancta is a verb tense of the term sanctus, meaning holy or blessed. Santa or Santa Lucia, San Pietro, so Saint Lucy, Saint Peter. The term saint, so Santa Claus, Saint Claus, or Nicolaus. That's where all it comes. There are incredible comments in here. Oh my goodness,
yeah,
people are actually listening to me.
I know, isn't it wonderful? Because I like I said, I've told
my university students and my
Look
colleagues.
at you.
I tell you this all the time. I can listen
Thank
to you all day.
So why don't we
like
do this, Kirby? Let's do our trivia question. I mean that our time's going by quickly, unfortunately. But go ahead.
Before I do the trivia question, I just want to actually make sure everybody, please follow us and like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Kringle Brothers. I mean, this is how you could get notifications and all kinds of fun information. So again, you can actually join us for other conversations with Bruce or one of the other ones, or just listen to Mike and I just rattle on about different things that we like. And you can always reach us at kringlebrothers2@gmail.com. So remember, send us your dad jokes, and for Mrs. Claus and the elves, you can play as well. But here is our trivia question. Are you ready? Are you set? All right. How many spirits visited Scrooge in A Christmas Carol and named them?
Name them. Yes.
So again, how many spirits visited Scrooge in A Christmas Carol and named them?
I thought this would be an easy one. So there we go. Should we make the confession that Bruce
No, we're not going to make any confession right now.
We're not going to tell everyone that.
We're not going to tell them anything.
I was so self-assured.
So let's see here.
So while people are doing that, responding to the trivia question, how many spirits, and name them as they're working on that. I just want us to get ready. I want to bring it down to the road. In other words, when I look at character development, I'm spending time, understanding the character that I'm portraying, and I really would love you to address everyone who's listening and watching or watching in the future. Why is that important in our development and who we are? In other words, why should I understand Saint Nicholas to help me out today? So let's go back. Did we get answers?
Oh no, we got answers, and you know what? There's so many wonderful ones. I mean, yes, most people did get the part of the right answer, and I'm going to let you know right now is there were 4 ghosts, just to let you know. But what we're having a problem is naming all of them.
Oh,
There's a little trick to to one of the ghosts, and you would have to actually read the book or know the book to actually know
yeah.
what the name we're looking for.
We're going by what Charles said.
Yes, we're going by what the names that Dickens gave the ghosts. Oh, and we have our winner. We have our winner, Kevin Scharf. The four ghosts of, let me go ahead and put this on here just so everybody can see. The four ghosts are.
I can't help but go Jacob Marley. You know what I mean? Because I think of the Muppets, Marley and Marley. You know what I mean?
Well,
But
yeah,
then make
no,
it 5. We don't want to do 5. It's only
but no,
4.
it's actually four ghosts: Jacob Marley, Christmas Past, Christmas Present, and Christmas Yet to Come.
Yet.
Now we've had a few ones in there that Carl put down: Christmas Future, things to come. Yeah, Carl, you were just so close. Just change yet from things, and you would have been our winner. But
So
our
congratulations.
winner right
Kevin.
now is, of course, Kevin Scharf. And to let everybody know, when we asked Dr. Bruce this, he only said 3.
Because I didn't think of Marley as being as part of that group, but I was wrong. That's just it was just wrong.
But so what does Kevin get?
Well,
What happens
Kevin,
to Kevin?
your name is going to be submitted into a hat with the possibility of, as I lose an earbud, with the possibility of maybe winning a scholarship to North Pole Cornerstone
Ooh.
next year. Now, of course, Kevin, what this simply means is that you're not eligible.
What that means is you're not eligible.
You're
Sorry.
not eligible for
I'm not
45 days because, yes, I know it all depends on the pause, the great infamous pause. I'm just making sure I got all the names spelled right because my
Kevin,
God,
you're eligible for your name to be put into the hat.
yes.
Yes.
And again, this is for a scholarship to North Pole Cornerstones in 2025. That'll take place at the end of February, at the end of January, early February. So you can go to the website and check it all out. So, but thank you so much for playing.
Yeah, thanks,
I think it's the
everybody.
most difficult one we've had since we started doing this.
Yeah. So Santa Bruce.
Yes.
So in our character development, why understanding Saint Nicholas? I mean, what can we glean from it? Why is that important to us?
Okay, I think what's important here is that we need to look at what is the example given by this individual. And it doesn't matter what your faith background is, where you are spiritually on your journey, whether you believe everything that's come out, all the stories about Nickolas. What is important to us is the example of this individual. Why is this person a rock star? Why is this person a superhero in the Roman and the Eastern Church? Why does the Anglican Church hold him so highly? Why do other cultures worldwide look towards this person? And it's that idea of caring for other individuals, um, doing acts of kindness, making sure that the downtrodden are lifted up. I know people say, "Well, that's what all faith is based on. This is what it means to be a good person." Exactly. Exactly. As Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, as the elves, as different Christmas characters, the whole thing is we are a reminder, just like the four spirits in A Christmas Carol, who visit Marley. We're who visit Scrooge. Sorry,
Scrooge, yeah.
we are this reminder of what should be, of how we need to be there for each other, of how we need to take care of each other, and that we lift others up not for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all. Nathan, you've got a comment here. There are so many books out. There is more research. I'm supposed to be working on a book. I've got other distractions in life right now, like I'm a director of a school, which I'm being told that I have to stop using that excuse and have to do something. I was told
Yeah. Well,
at work. But before you go out and you start wanting to buy books, like you could go onto Amazon, or we could have coffee, and many places that we bump into. By the way, when I'm out in public and I'm on a mission, you need to stop me and talk at me, because half the time my head's someplace else. So don't be insulted. Nathan and everyone else, there is what I'd recommend at first.
Oh, well, all right. This is interesting because Herbie's got a book list, so we'll see how many of you books you have that's already Herbie's got typed up on the list.
What? At this point, I'm not going to give a book list.
Oh,
I'm not giving required reading. What I'm going to recommend is you do some surfing, and you surf to, and Herbie, if you would just pull this up to the stnickolascenter.org.
Mhm.
So just over in Holland, there's this person who is passionate about the example of Nickolas, and she runs and curates the St. Nickolas Center. She has this incredible website. It's free if you want to make a donation to the center to keep that good work going. Go for it. But at first, thank you. No, stnickolascenter.org.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
We'll fix that.
Yep, thanks. I would start there. I would actually start there. There's many pages. There's resources there. Now, Kate, many of us in the community are starting to publish. That's wonderful. But you know what? Start to take a look at these types of resources first. One of the books that I do go to that I really like is The Real St. Nicholas by Louise Caras. I don't know if you can see this. I like it because it's got icons, it's got color. Oh, wonderful. It's got color panels. It's well organized. It's also a lovely looking book, and I think that, the part of this type of reading, because there are some very fine books, but it's hard to read cover to cover. What I love about this is that it's broken up nicely.
sorry.
Hey, Michael.
There we go. Wrong button. Sorry.
There's short reads and so forth. Can I just ask that people do not go out and buy 5 books at once? Like I'm that person, and then my book pile becomes, this, and my wife looks at me and says, "Oh, how's that book going? How's this book going?" Like I flip through them, I find things, but the idea of reading through them. What I've done this summer is I've just taken one book that I'll be starting to work on next week when we're on holidays. But start off with the St. Nicholas Center site.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah, and she's phenomenal. She is so good. So, Mike, your book list.
Well, I'm just going to bring this up right here real quickly and go right from there. One of the ones I like, and I mean, granted, these are all just like non-specific, but I found this one. It's called The Little Book of Christmas.
Yep.
Let me put you on the
and
one.
this is by D. Fufel there. And I mean, this just has like little snippets and little short stories about different types of things like Christmas in Russia, St. Nicholas, Christmas in Italy. So it's kind of a little fun read. Another book I found that was interesting was The Santa Claus Worldwide, written by Tom A. German. He is a retired lawyer who doesn't portray Santa at all. However, he is a fanatic about Christmas. And this is a very good read as well. I also picked up another fun book I saw somebody have on the internet called Santas of the World. And then finally, one of the ones that it's hard to find anymore, and I picked this up by going to Tim Conahan's class, but the Encyclopedia of Christmas. And this one is by T. Gulovich. And this actually, again, this is like an encyclopedia book with different things. But one of the things I also like to point out, too, is if you're looking for books about St. Nicholas, do a little bit research on it, because, again, you can pick up a book, something like this, which is a fun read. Don't get me wrong. And it can always energize your character. But like the autobiography of Santa Claus, and this is actually done by Jeff Gwynne. And what's nice about this is the author sits down and he tells basically Santa Claus's story as told by Santa Claus. He actually interviews Santa Claus. So again, this is a nice little book too to help you develop a character, because again, it's from all these different areas that we go ahead and make our complete character. And we've talked about this numerous times before, where media, TV, movies, etc., are going to become what the families now know. I mean, look at the previews for this new movie, the red one with The Rock playing like Santa's bodyguard. One of the bits I saw was he has this little thing on his wrist, and when they're in a toy store, he tells somebody to grab a toy car, Hot Wheels, and they take it outside. He uses this little wrist thing and turns it into a fully functional automobile. Well, kids are going to want to know all about that stuff too. So I think, in all honesty, understanding the basis for what the character is based on is highly important. And now I'm rambling because that's what I do.
The same author, I'll throw out too, the same author that wrote the autobiographic book of Santa Claus, he has the same tone and style he has one of Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, it's like a series,
really,
isn't there? It's like 3 or 4 different books.
It's a really good. For me, I'm an Audible guy. In other words, I can say it's a great listen. You know what I mean? So a lot of these books, I like to do audibles with them, so that you can also get them on Audible. So
also, another author to look for, his name is Jerry Bowler, Bower, Jerry. And he's written 2 or 3 books about Christmas. And one is about a social history of Christmas. Another is about Santa Claus, St. Nicholas. He comes from, he has a PhD in history from, I think, Oxford. He and his wife live in Winnipeg. In fact, his wife was one of my opera directors when I was in university.
Oh,
and yeah. And what I love about Jerry's writing is that it's so well researched. It's incredible academic writing, but it's readable. Like, the general public can sit down with it and not have to think, okay, am I supposed to have taken philosophy 101 first? Like, what's this all about?
yeah.
So if you see any of Jerry's books, Mike, you are incredible as always. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yes, yeah. He's got all that written down there. So again, look at the chat. There's a lot of links and some information.
Sorry to cut you off, Herbie, but many of you have been putting in such great comments. Earlier, Mike and also Laura just made a comment about the element of surprise, mystery, that innocence. That, I think that's part of it, because, the 3 of us were in an online workshop with Steve Gillum. And I remember Steve talking about the practice of gratitude. And here in Canada, we were still doing lockdown. But I thought, okay, well, fine. Let's look at this. I mean, this seems kind of, like lightweight. It's not like some real deep spiritual exercise journey. And I'll tell you, practicing the act of gratitude, looking into our lives, reflecting into our lives, what are we truly grateful for every day, is life-changing. And I think that is what all of us bring. All of our characters, we all emulate that idea of Nickolas, and people who think like Nickolas, people who were influenced by Nickolas. And Nickolas was influenced by his family, the people around him, and we know how Nickolas's image is constructed. He was very well educated, so he knew of it. He knew of different philosophies, different cultures, and the importance of community and the idea of sharing.
Yeah, great word. I can't believe that was a fast hour.
I know.
Yeah. So, Michael, do you have any final comments that you'd like to share or say?
Well, I would just like to say thank you, Dr. Bruce, for coming on with us, educating us on St. Nicholas and the importance of, because, as I said earlier, to portray a Claus, an elf, or Mrs. Claus, St. Nicholas, or the stories of St. Nicholas, is at the core or the foundation of every Christmas performer. And to understand this, it's going to help your portrayal. As stated, gratitude. I know for me personally, one of the things I always find interesting is no matter where we go, no matter what anybody is feeling, once they hear Christmas music or see Santa or Mrs. Claus, their entire demeanor changes. And as Bruce pointed out, it gives you hope. It gives you the opportunity to say, you know what? Everything is going to be okay. How about you, Michael? What final things do you have to say?
Well, I just want to thank everybody. I appreciate it. I mean, the typical things. Please like and, follow and share. So we can practice that a little bit. Let everyone know that we're here each Wednesday. We love prepping for the community. We love sharing to the community, and I think that's part of, understanding St. Nicholas too.
And Michael, what's our show for next week?
Oh, next week is the emergency list.
Yes.
So in other words, as we look next week at costumes and props, in other words, what's the emergency? What are we going to do to prep for that? All right, we got a timeout here. The teacher, the timeout and you.
Before we forget, okay, everyone in the family here, I have a bit of a sticky situation. I know that there's many former military, former public service, emergency service people who always have to maintain their duty boots. How do you repair a cut in a duty boot or a scuff where the top layer of leather has been damaged? We don't have time for live answers. If you would just message me or like whatever we do on Facebook, that's where I do become a dad, is I'm useless with this technology. If you would just write me at Santa Bruce Guerin or Bruce J.G. Kotowich on Facebook, tell me if you have any success in repairing it on your own. I don't want to have to ship it off someplace, or give it to these guys.
Just post it right here in this chat, and because it stays in Facebook and it's there, and you can go through it and you'll be able to see it right there. So how bad is the slice in your boot?
Well, on the boots back here, it's like a 2-inch, it looks like a razor cut. I know what happened. A little guy was wearing spurs on his cowboy boots last season. And then on a pair of my duty boots, I scuffed them on a hike. So,
all right.
Sal, you must know how to do that. So you need to get a hold of me too.
Oh yeah, that would be a good thing.
Angela and the family, thank you so much. You two guys, thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome, Bruce.
It's wonderful. And again, listen, folks, how we learn is that we talk with each other.
Because we're better together. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? If you want to sit with me, bring me a coffee. But like a good dark roast, and I'll just talk your ear off if you haven't noticed.
You bring up a good note for those that are actually in the area. We have our Red Suit Conclave coming up the first weekend in August. Dr. Bruce will actually be presenting during that time too. So if you want to come on up, you'll have a great opportunity to buy him a coffee, and you'll talk your ear off.
Also,
Awesome.
I really have to just mention right now, Joe Valent. Joe, I don't know if you're still around, how I started to organize and started to understand the value of Nickolas in my life was because Joe and his parents, Tom and Holly, said, this is part of you. Talk about this.
Yeah.
And just because we live it, that's one thing, but we also need to take time to reflect on it and to start to write things down. So those of us who aren't really into journaling, guess what? It's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a good word. Oh,
all right, Michael.
Thanks everybody for watching tonight. I really appreciate it, and let's take it out.
Take it out.
hey, look, there's still some people watching a little bit.
There was a lot. I think they're starting to catch on.
They're starting to catch on. All right, so here it is, Santa Bruce. All right, my homemade joke.
He wrote this all himself.
You got a politician. You've got a priest, Santa Claus, and 2 elves walk into a bar. What do they talk about? The Kringle brothers. They love watching the Kringle Time show. All right. Night, everybody. Have a good
night.
one.
Good night.